Hello and welcome to our special series on Budget 2014. A new government is in place after the general elections, and the first budget to be presented on 10th of July by this new government will be an excellent opportunity to boldly state the direction it intends to impart to the nation's economy. In this episode, we will tell you about the present condition of the infrastructure sector and the expectations from this budget. Infrastructure is the prerequisite for the development of any economy. This sector, mainly comprising of roads, railways, airports, ports, power, telecom and urban infrastructure, plays a crucial role in promoting economic growth and thereby contributes to the reduction of economic disparity and poverty in any country. India has performed impressively by achieving its planned investment targets in infrastructure, which were set in the 11th five-year plan. However, these investment targets were only achieved due to the strong performance of telecom, oil and gas sectors. Other critical segments of infrastructure like roads, railways and ports have underachieved their investment target by 22% in the 11th plan. India's creaky infrastructure is often cited as a big hurdle to its growth potential. As per the data available with the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, a large number of projects in the infrastructure sector have been delayed, leading to cost overrun of billions of rupees. 78 projects were delayed in road and transport sector, leading to a cost overrun of 22 billion rupees. In power, 47 projects were delayed with a cost overrun of 146 billion rupees. In oil and gas sector, 31 projects were delayed with a cost overrun of 83 billion rupees. In railways, the number of projects delayed was 27 with a cost overrun of 302 billion rupees. While urban infrastructure had just one project delayed with a cost overrun of 52 billion rupees, shipping and ports had 10 projects delayed with a cost overrun of 8 billion rupees. The infrastructure sector has various concerns such as delayed clearance for projects, unavailability of cheap and steady flow of natural resources like coal, cement, iron ore, etc., lack of coordination among various ministries and insufficient incentives. Infrastructure projects also require extensive capital investment and have a long gestation period. Experts say this sector requires a major boost and a pragmatic approach to address its concerns.
Banks' resources are short-term deposits and infrastructure requirements are long-term funds. And I believe the Reserve Bank is looking at some ways to encourage banks to borrow long-term money and lend for long-term. And maybe Finance Minister can use this opportunity of the budget speech to unveil some program which will encourage the banking sector in India to raise more long-term money and then be able to lend long-term money to infrastructure sectors.
Some other major expectations infrastructure sector has from the policy and tax perspective are single window clearance system for infrastructure projects, thereby bringing down the initial cost escalation. Infrastructure investment trust to help cash-starved infrastructure developers raise long-term capital at competitive rates. Enhanced incentives to reduce the effective tax burden and subsidize the commercial difficulties. No widening of tax base through retrospective amendments. Infrastructure seems to be among the top priorities of new government led by Narendra Modi. President's address to the joint session of Parliament also talks about the government's plan to chalk out an ambitious infrastructure development program. Let's take a short break here, and when we come back, we will take a look at the expectations of different segments of the infrastructure sector from this year's budget. Welcome back. Let's begin with road and highways. With 60% of freight and 85% of passenger traffic being carried by road transport in our country, completion of pending projects and road safety are two topmost priorities of this sector. Ministry of Roads is planning to roll out a road safety fund to address the growing concerns of road accidents. This fund could be used in the maintenance of already built roads. Some amount of the fund will be used to sensitize heavy vehicle drivers who frequently travel on highways. Experts believe that maintaining a 79,000 kilometer road network will at least require 5,000 crore per annum.
My expectations are the government should essentially provide funds for road safety. The nation loses about 1 lakh crores every year as per the Planning Commission estimates on roads accidents. It is therefore necessary that we make adequate provision in the budget for works relating to road safety.
If we spend through the budget directly 5,000 crores for reduction of the accidents, they will be good for the GDP growth and for the economy.
Transport Ministry has fixed an internal target to complete road projects in a minimum possible time. Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari has announced few innovative ideas to build roads by involving unemployed civil engineers, a model adopted by Maharashtra when he was State Transport Minister.
जब महाराष्ट्र में मैं मंत्री था तो मैंने एक योजना तैयार की थी कि जो बेरोजगार इंजीनियर्स हैं, सिविल इंजीनियर्स हैं, डिप्लोमा होल्डर्स हैं, उनको उस समय 15 लाख रुपए का काम, या 1999 की बात मैं बता रहा हूँ, विदाउट टेंडर एस्टिमेट कॉस्ट पर देकर मैंने इंजीनियर्स को कॉन्ट्रैक्टर बनाने का योजना शुरू की थी. अब वो योजना अच्छी चल रही है और 50 लाख रुपए तक काम इंजीनियर्स को मिलता है और इसके कारण आज महाराष्ट्र में 65,000 इंजीनियर डिप्लोमा होल्डर्स नए कॉन्ट्रैक्टर बने हैं और वो यशस्वी रूप से काम कर रहे हैं.
National highways carry 40% of the total road traffic. Easy availability, adaptability to individual needs and the cost savings are some of the factors which go in favor of road transport. India has a total length of 79,116 km of national highways. 34,207 km of highways are with the State Public Works Department and 30,537 km with the National Highways Authority of India. Border Roads Organization maintains 3,798 km and the remaining 10,574 km are yet to be entrusted to the executing agencies.
States are not doing enough on road safety, although there is an allocation of 10% in the Ministry of Road Transport's budget for respective states for national highways, out of which 10% is allocated to road safety. They should not only spend this money, but they should also allocate in their own budgets investment on road safety.
Transport Ministry is pushing for more funds considering the practical challenges in resource generation.
There is a lot of problem of financing and public-private partnership. So how the government is going to encourage better public-private partnership arrangements so there are no disputes and more money from the private sector comes in, and some innovative ways of financing of the road sector like securitization of future cess receipts and creation of a separate fund for roadway development and all that. So roads have a different set of issues.
Planned outlay of Ministry of Road Transport is likely to increase if Finance Ministry agrees to dedicate additional funds. UPA government had allocated only 25,859.91 crore in the last union budget, and states got only 2,267 crores for road improvement. The allocation was further reduced in the recent interim budget to 21,399.94 crores. Generation of revenue seems to be the topmost priority for civil aviation sector as well. In addition to that, taxes on jet fuel and boosting cargo handling capacity also seems to be the other concerns of this sector. Air cargo represents about 10% of the airline industry's revenue, and it contributes 35% of revenue value on international goods transported by air. Civil Aviation Ministry has identified 24 airports to construct domestic air cargo terminals. This will help in generating revenue through cargo transfer in major airports in Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and few other states.
Worldwide general aviation, it operates out of proper heliports, they are specialized general aviation airports, they are FBOs. Now in India this is not there. We would like the government to look at a roadmap to build up the general aviation infrastructure which will give the boost to the growth of general aviation.
Civil Aviation Ministry is also planning to allow new airlines to operate on international circuits from the day approval is granted. Experts in the aviation industry believe that this policy will ensure new airlines to operate frequently on domestic and international circuits, which will guarantee good financial returns to the government in terms of taxes.
In the aviation industry, we have to have a very cautious approach. That doesn't mean I am overcautious. But if the rule needs a review, the stakeholder, the industry has also to be consulted. The infrastructure of that airline needs to be examined, whether they can support such an international or a foreign operation. Then only the rule can be modified.
There is also a plan to reduce the burden on fuel imports by allowing airline companies to import fuel directly from oil companies. Civil Aviation Ministry has also sought Finance Ministry's approval to levy a uniform tax on jet fuel.
Is quite, you say, taxed on the higher side in our country. And there has been a variation from state to state. So, on the aviation side, they want the taxes down. So this has been a request of this sector for some time now. And probably different state governments, we have federal structure in our country. And states also do have taxation, just as much as government of India has. So we are trying to take the various states into confidence and requesting them to come down so that this sector can be encouraged.
We find some of the taxation which have come in, especially import duty on import of private aircraft, some taxes which don't seem to be sensible as far as MROs are concerned. We would like the government to have a look at the taxation and rationalize them.
As of now, the value-added tax on aviation turbine fuel ranges from 4% to 30%, depending on the sales tax levied by a state. If an airline can import fuel directly, it would only have to pay customs and countervailing duties, saving on state levies. The telecom sector is hopeful of getting more funds in this year's budget for electronic clusters. This is also likely to generate more employment opportunities in the electronics manufacturing segment. Ministry of Information Technology is aiming to create 2 crore jobs by creating electronic clusters in different states. The ministry has sought a special electronic development fund to develop semiconductor industry in the country.
सरकार एक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डेवलपमेंट फंड स्थापित करने जा रही है। इसको हम बहुत प्रायोरिटी में लेने जा रहे हैं। इसका मतलब यह है कि अगर कोई वेंचर इन्वेस्टर इन्वेस्ट करता है तो सरकार भी एक पोर्शन उसमें लगाएगी टू गिव ए सैंक्टिटी टू द इनोवेशन बिहाइंड द इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग आइडिया।
The Department of Electronics and Information Technology, which is responsible for formulation and implementation of national policies for promotion of electronics and information technology in the country, was allotted 3,000 crore in the last union budget for electronic development. The amount was marginally increased by 315 crore in the interim budget. This amount is likely to increase by 4 times considering the government's intention to develop clusters. Government is also likely to continue with the modified Special Incentive Package scheme of UPA, which is aimed at attracting investment in electronics systems design and manufacturing industries. Under the MSIPS program, the government will provide up to rupees 10,000 crore in benefits to the industry during the 12th five-year plan period for promoting production of electronic products and components in India.
It's very good that in fact, the new government has also spoken about developing the EMCs, electronic manufacturing clusters, and we believe that's a very, very important part of the entire system. The reason is very simple, that it helps the similar type of manufacturing groups to come and establish manufacturing there. So if there is a large manufacturer who's making a product, all the components guys can come together and do that. So it's extremely important, and I think that would definitely help a lot.
Clusters have a very important role to play. Of course, clusters are a long-term initiative. So there is a cluster policy which needs to be implemented. I think the challenge we are facing is that we have to, convince investors to come. Because now, as you must have also read, there are 8 clusters which have already been approved, and LCNA is working very closely on, 3 clusters. And we have some investors, but we need to convince, some foreign investors also to come. So I think that is the challenge for us.
Experts believe that if India achieves 25 to 30% annual growth in electronic production over the 12th five-year plan, it will create millions of direct and indirect employment opportunities and will help in reducing foreign exchange outgo. The development of electronic manufacturing sector is both important and essential due to economic and strategic reasons. As per the estimates of Electronic Industries Association of India, the domestic production in ESDM is projected to reach $100 billion by 2020 at present levels. This can be expanded to $400 billion by 2020 with nearly 20% contribution to the GDP. The sector has increased its contribution to India's GDP from 1.2% in 1998 to 7.5% in 2012. Another major initiative expected from the new government is construction of broadband highways.
If Atal Bihari Vajpayee government was known for national highway, Mr. Modi's government would be known for broadband highway. और स्वयं प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हाईवे की बात कही, इंफॉर्मेशन बेस की बात की. तो नेशनल ऑप्टिकल फाइबर नेटवर्क को स्ट्रीमलाइन करना यह हमारी दूसरी इंपॉर्टेंट प्रायोरिटी है. 2014-15 में 50,000 ग्राम पंचायत कम से कम जोड़े जाएंगे बाय द नेशनल ऑप्टिकल फाइबर नेटवर्क. 2015-16 में 1 लाख ग्राम पंचायत जोड़े जाएंगे और 2016-17 में बाकी 1 लाख ग्राम पंचायत जोड़े जाएंगे. तो 2,50,000 ग्राम पंचायत विल बी कंप्लीटली कनेक्टेड बाय ऑप्टिकल फाइबर नेटवर्क. और उसके लिए एक गवर्नमेंट यूजर जो नेटवर्क होता है, आईटी विभाग के कोऑर्डिनेशन से हम उसको भी इंस्टॉल करने जा रहे हैं ताकि हर पंचायत में ई एजुकेशन, टेली मेडिसिन, गवर्नमेंट प्रोग्राम की डिलीवरी पंचायत लेवल पर हो सके.
Power sector reforms in India has been the subject of much debate in recent weeks. This sector has been under the black hole of debt with an urgent need for restructuring. Power sector is also hoping for steps which can lead to removal of barriers to coal and gas supplies that are forcing power plants to operate at low capacity.
I think there are two issues here. One is, of course, the fuel supply for the power sector, which is primarily coal in India. So you're not able to get enough coal that is needed for power generation. And I feel that it is the monopoly of public sector for coal mining which is a very big, I think, barrier to growth. So one step if the government can take to denationalize the coal industry, bring and allow private sector mining in coal, I think it is going to create a lot of fuel supply for the power sector, number one. Number two, there are a lot of roadblocks in the coal sector from the environmental and related issues, and if those roadblocks can be cleared and a more systematic process followed so that the coal mining activity does not suffer.
With the country now having the first government in 25 years which is not hostage to coalition politics, all eyes are set on how this opportunity is used to restore and accelerate economic growth with the much needed focus on infrastructure sector. So this was our special episode on infrastructure sector. For continuous and in-depth coverage of Budget 2014, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.